Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Welcome to our show. Whether you're listening to us on the podcast later on, you're watching us live tonight, or watching the video later on, we're really happy you chose to be a part of our audience. Marjorie Daring has the first comment tonight. She says, hello, I made it with just 10 seconds to spare, but I'm here.
Sliding into home. Right?
Yeah. Paul Hollis says, good evening, Joan and Rob. Hello, Paul. Glad that you're here. George Dismuke says, okay, man. So like I'm here. I fed my horse and put him in the stable. Oh, wait, where's my car?
Better find it. You might need it.
Yeah. Connie Cleary says, hello, everyone. Hello.
Welcome, Connie.
And Joy Shelton York said,
Hi,
good
Joy.
evening. Good evening, Joy. We're really glad that you're all here. If you're listening or watching, I should say, on any one of the other channels, you can go ahead and comment. In LinkedIn, you might have to work a little harder to find out how to make a comment, but
Yeah, it's a
you
little
can.
more difficult. Well, just an update on my ear. Still under a bandage. So the reconstruction of my ear should be fine. I get the bandage off tomorrow, and hopefully it won't be this big. So apart from that, in the news, other news, Voice of Indie podcast right after this show, Blog Talk Radio, Being Weeks and Gary G's. Their guest tonight is going to be Andre Gress, who was recently on our show.
Yeah.
He's been on our show a couple times.
Yeah.
Very interesting fella. And then at the end of our show, there's details on how to watch. So if you stick through to the end, you can find out how to get over to their show.
Yeah.
Episode Rewind this Saturday is UK author S. Lewis Campbell. She's an author and also runs Beauty and the Beast Publishing over there. That's episode 76. You also should be catching the Book World, The Great Escape podcast on YouTube. It's at CJ Peterson. And that's a really good, that's on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock Central Time, I believe.
2 o'clock Eastern.
2 o'clock Eastern. And then next Wednesday at 7:30, we'll have a pre-record on. It's a UK author, Maureen Dixon, and she wrote about the pilots of the Caribbean. And yes, I said pilots, not pirates. It's
nonfiction.
It's a nonfiction book.
Very fascinating.
It was a really good interview. We really enjoyed
it was.
meeting
I'm
her.
sorry she couldn't do it live because
Yes.
you guys would have had a million questions. So
Coming up weekend of May 12th is the Rochester, New York, the Rochester Parafest with all sorts of paranormal speakers and stuff to do. Go to rochesterparafest.com to find out about tickets and stuff if you live up in the upstate New York area. I did want to mention something that we haven't been on really live, I don't think, since this happened, but we wanted to make sure everyone knew on March 30th.
we have been on live, but we haven't talked about it.
On March 30th, author Diane Astle passed away. Many of us know her from having retweeted her books for years. She wrote the Dragonborn series and Larkin's Choice, a time travel book. She will be missed, and our condolences go out to her family.
Yeah, she was on our show, but she fought a hard fight against brain cancer.
It was a long battle.
Earlier this year, she had told us, that's it. I'm not doing any more chemotherapy. I'm kind of done with all of this. So, but we're sorry that she's gone.
Yes. On a lighter note, tomorrow night, I want to invite everybody to tune in to the Haunted Campfire Tales podcast, Tampa Bay Spirits. 1.com. You can find out about it there if you want. 7:30 p.m. and pretty much where you're watching right now, you can still watch that podcast as well.
I know. And here's the fun thing. Joe Congel, who is our guest tonight and will be bringing on stage any minute now, he voted for what we're going to be talking about. If you want us to talk about a subject, go ahead and send in your vote. Where do we want them to?
CarterNovels@AOL.com.
That's where they're doing the vote?
Well, they can send us a suggestion.
Yeah. But don't we have the post on?
Yeah, on Facebook, on our Facebook group page for Tampa Bay Spirits.
For Tampa Bay Spirits. So, and anyway, it's about UFOs. And if any of you remember Bob Long, we had him on with Jim Bork, and they co-wrote a book. But they've both been with MUFON and everything for years. So it's really going to be a lot of fun. All right. I'm missing a bunch of comments here. Chris Chrisman says, hello, Rob and Joan, and hey, Joe Congel, author Joe.
Author Joe.
Connie says, hi, Chris, to you. Mustafa Progress says, hi, hello. Chris Chrisman said, so sorry. She's now at peace, pain-free. She is.
She was on our podcast before, and she's a wonderful person.
She was.
We enjoyed her.
And Chris Chrisman said, hey, Connie. So,
yes. One last thing. In the news, in the top 5 in the last 30 days, there's no change in that, except that the Philippines took over Canada. No, not in real life, but I mean in the standing for podcasts.
People watching our shows.
Yeah, so they're number 5, and Canada's out of the top 5 now. So that's pretty cool.
The U.S. is
U.S. is still number 1. Australia, then United Arab Emirates, Bangladesh, and Philippines. So those are the ones that are downloading this podcast the most.
Yeah. Oh, it's Caleb Pirtle.
Hey,
Glad
Caleb.
to be with you and the Razzman tonight. Yeah,
and
let's get
Linda's
him on there
too. Hi, Linda.
Yeah. I bet she is.
Yeah.
Let's get the Razzman on now.
Bring him on in here. Don't be shy, Joe. Come on. Hi, Joe.
Here. Hey, how are you?
Welcome on board.
Good evening. I feel like I should type it in. Hi, Rob and Joan.
Yeah, it's a crazy ship, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Go ahead. Paul Hollis says, hey, Joe, channeling Jim. Razzman is with us.
Oh, yes. Okay, I got you. Jimi Hendrix.
So, how have you been since the last time you were on the show? I mean, you're in the audience every week, but
right. I'm doing well.
Joey says hi, Joe.
Hey, Joy. It was from the last time I was on the show, which was the 100th anniversary broadcast. I really had a lot of work to get done when it came to getting this book out that's currently out. So got it done and was very busy in that time frame. So, but I'm feeling really good about it, because it's out. So, but I'm doing well. So thank you.
Good.
It's kind of a relief to get that out of the way, isn't it? I mean, once it finally comes to fruition.
Yes.
But jump right back into other projects. So, not really a lot of time to waste in between.
That's true. It's not like you can sit on a deserted island and drink a margarita or something, right?
Exactly.
So
it just feels.
Go ahead. I was just going to say there's a bunch more comments. So hello from Christine Mavic Congel, who says you are her favorite brother-in-law. Are you her only brother-in-law?
I think I am.
Yeah,
no, I'm not. I don't think I am. But the other brother-in-laws aren't listening in, so they will never know.
And Rita Turbeville says the grandchildren say hi.
That's my daughter.
What do they call you?
Well, two of them call me Grandpa. The third one, who's she'll be 2 actually in May, she calls me Button for some goofy reason. I'm Grandpa Button to her. Yeah, she just can't form. Well, she can form the word grandpa, but she enjoys the word button for some reason.
Sure, she's saying button, right?
Yeah. No, that's what she's saying. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure.
So they,
yeah, no, she is.
Grandpa and Button say hello. And Connie Clary says, hello, Joe.
Hey, Connie.
And Christine says, congratulations on your new book.
Thank you, Chris. Are you going to read it this time?
Way to call you out, huh?
Yes. No, she's actually.
Here's Catherine McKeon saying, hi, Joe, from your favorite sister.
Yeah. No, well, she's my only sister, so that she kind of gets that automatically. So
this is a family affair. This is
great.
Wow. That is awesome. I'm so glad you're all here.
Yes.
It's great.
No, I was going to say though about Chris. She's actually wonderfully supportive of my work. She's constantly retweeting and reposting and doing a lot of things and talks it up. And the nice thing is her sisters do like my work as well. So, and her mom's one of my biggest fans. So,
that's great.
So that's always nice.
That's great.
That's
well,
awesome.
Shall we go right to some of your books then? We
Sure.
can go through them from the beginning. All right.
Yeah, for those that haven't been watching or aren't familiar with your work yet, maybe missed your episode, can you tell us a little bit about Dead is Forever?
Okay. Well, Dead is Forever is the first book in the series. And in this particular book, this is more of a why done it than a who done it type of mystery.
Yeah.
Tony Razzolito starts out in this book as an unemployed appliance salesman, and his wife dies in the first chapter, so I'm not really giving anything away there. And he spends the rest of the book really trying to solve that crime. He's always wanted to be a private eye. It's something that he's enjoyed watching, those type of shows on TV and everything. And now he had a real life case. It's unfortunate that it happened to be his wife, but that's what he does in this book. He becomes, we actually watch him kind of work through what it is to become a private eye, so that by the end of that story, he really is a private eye. I mean, he's not full blown, the expert he becomes in later books, but he's well on his way at that point.
And Paul Hollis says, love that cover.
Well, thanks, Paul.
Yes, I like that cover too. Yeah, that's a really good cover.
I like that too. I had a different cover when it first was published, but I changed it out shortly after because I really liked this one better. So
yeah, it is. Let's see. Marjorie Daring says that certainly explains his motivation.
Yeah, for sure. Right?
Yeah, right. Highly motivated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
So it was something where it was an experience for me, because that book took the better part of 25 years to actually write, which, well, that's not really true. It took me 25 years from the time I started writing it until I actually got it published. And there was a lot of downtime. There was a 20-year time gap, I guess, where I didn't work on it at all and did other things. But it was really kind of my labor of love that I hated the whole time. Yeah.
And all authors understand exactly what you just said. So then your second one was the Razzman Chronicles, which is a trio of Tony Razzolito PI short stories.
Yes. And the reason why I did that particular book was there's a timeline gap between book 1 and book 2, because this isn't technically book 2. This is kind of an extra and added, if you will, in the series.
Right.
It's a part of the series, but it's an added part of the series. Book 2 is actually Deadly Passion. But between those two books, Tony becomes a seasoned PI. So when he's solving the crimes in Deadly Passion, he is not the same person. Well, he is the same person, but he's not the same level of PI he was when he was learning in the first book. So I felt like I had to have something that kind of bridged those two together, that kind of gave the readers an idea of how that happened. I didn't want them picking up Deadly Passion and say, well, wait a minute, this guy was an amateur in the last book. Now he's a full-blown PI that's solving crimes and he's doing a great job. What's going on? Well, I never really wanted to do an amateur type series, but I felt that the way I had that character introduced in book 1, that I needed those trio story, the 3 stories in the middle, to kind of advance the timeline of how he became what he was in Deadly Passion. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
So Caleb Priddle says, Joe, I know you have written the classic hard-boiled mysteries, but which author was your inspiration for storytelling?
Robert B. Parker. That's really my inspiration for writing the type of stories I write. I love his work. I still love his work. I mean, he's been gone several years now. There's other writers that are writing his books now, but he's really who inspired me. He's really why I wanted to become a writer in that genre. It's just, I really enjoy his stories. So that would be him.
Chris Chrisman said, I just read Joe's book. Loved it. Showing how PI becomes a real good PI. That's good.
Oh, thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah. So I think we just said Deadly Passion. You gave a little bit of.
Yeah, Deadly Passion is technically book 2 in the series. And in Deadly Passion, he has his first encounter with Detective Cahill. Detective John Cahill and him they're at odds in this book, and they're at odds in the other books. But I really enjoyed the play between those two guys so much in Deadly Passion that Cahill's become a regular character in the other books. So different type of story than book 1, obviously. In this one, he's helping solve a murder, but he's doing it alongside the Charlotte Police Department, Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department. So a little different.
Awesome. And then we have Dirty Air.
Yes, and Dirty Air is a story that it's part NASCAR, but it's not really a NASCAR book. It's got a NASCAR background and a legal street racing background. There's a matter of fact, the driver, the NASCAR driver that was killed in the beginning of this book, that murder actually resurfaces in the book that just came out. Anybody
Awesome.
that read that, anyone that read that book knows there was a lot going on as far as what Tony and company were trying to solve, and they solved pretty much everything right up to the end. But there were still questions about how and why Jared Trevino, who was the NASCAR driver, was killed in that book, and that's all answered in Best Served Cold. So it allowed me to almost do a continuation, but really not do a continuation. But there is a you don't have to read Dirty Air to read the next one, but it just makes it more fun if you have. So,
and we did establish when you first came on that those are your cars.
Yes, those are my. Yeah, they're in my driveway right now. Yeah. So, yes,
I remember we had this conversation.
Are they still that clean? Really? Do you keep them that clean?
Well, yeah, sometimes I got to get out there and wash them occasionally, but overall I give them a good wax, good buffing down, and they look that good all the time. So.
Awesome. That's awesome.
George Dismuke says, Joe, where did you learn your stuff about being a PI? Were you one at some time?
I was not. I've just been fascinated with it. I mean, I enjoy that world. I grew up really being infatuated with the mob. I mean, I just did. I mean, I grew up in Syracuse, New York, not that far from New York City. There was a lot of things going on in my childhood that would make me think that, okay, this is a very interesting area of the country to live in when it comes to that. It truly made me just really want to learn more about it. So I did a lot of research on the mob, and then that kind of turned into a lot. As a matter of fact, in my books, you'll see there's a lot of mobster kind of activity that goes on throughout there that he kind of ties in to the mystery with the murders. So it's not that I ever was a PI, and I never really wanted to personally be a PI, but I'm just fascinated with that whole world. So that, and then I just read the books and just.
But you were a mobster, right?
Yes.
Not a PI.
Not a PI. Never was.
I actually own a line of pizza joints that are actually fronts for the mob. So yeah.
There you go.
Caleb Pirtle says private eyes are a lot like writers. They make it up on the fly.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's why it's perfect for me, because that's what I do.
Yeah, I know. I grew up in Boston, and I actually went to school at college with a girl whose father was in the mob.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew he owned like a lobster company, like a distribution thing for lobsters. And yeah, but that was just a front. I found out, I almost passed out. I had then met another one in Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, she was my best friend, and her husband.
Is there
was
something
in the
you're
mob.
not telling me?
I just attract mob wives, I guess.
Hey,
and
if
daughters.
you go back in your history deep enough, you never know what you're going to find, right? Who knows?
Yeah, the Irish mob is nothing.
Oh, Dave did make it on. I didn't think he was going to be on tonight.
Dave Murray says, "Hi, Joe. Just read Best Served, and it was your best yet."
Well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Let's take. Okay, we'll take our break, and
Okay.
we just did Dirty Air. So when we come back, we'll talk about Best Served Cold.
All right.
First, a word from our sponsors. Don't go away, folks.
Once we get the reels put on the projector.
Yeah.
Mystery hovers in the Magnolia Bluff Public Library. It has nothing to do with the hundreds of suspense novels on its shelves. Caroline McCluskey is the librarian. She finds a crimson hat and a black and white poodle puppy. They belong to Esther Williams. Esther is missing. The police can't find her. Neither can the FBI. Esther's only hope is a ring of 3 women investigators who form the Round Table. The Round Table has already solved one mystery in town, but this time, a woman's life is at stake. The Doggone Diamond Dilemma is now available on Amazon.
They thought the siren was dead. In the novel Siren Song by author George Dismukes, James Harmon shot her twice. Several people saw her dead body sinking slowly into the abyss. But now, in Siren Song 2, evidence suggests that she may still be alive.
She killed that boatload of people. It was her! And she's just getting started!
Angie, that's impossible.
The cold chill up my spine tells me it's not impossible. We've got to start all over again. And this time, do it right.
Siren Song 2. The story continues. Available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Get your copy today.
The clock is ticking. Can Gracie uncover the truth?
Philip Pliant is the wealthy opportunist plastics dealer and CEO of Pliant Industries. He's also a master thief, creating a pervasive threat to the manufacturing infrastructure in the Caribbean islands markets. With the cartel as his stealth client, the naive city leaders have been seduced, enabling the production of more than 3-dimensional building materials.
The expected profits are monstrous.
Is the art group, now led by Gracie and the family heirs, strong enough to win against this predator?
Can JJ's cats act on the root cause analysis in time?
Will Gracie be able to squash Pliant and the cartels?
Gracie never considered their lives would hang in the balance. The clock is ticking. 5, 4, 3.
And we're back.
We are.
So let us get on to Best Served Cold.
Yes.
I do like that cover, by the way.
Yeah.
I like that one too. And it took me a while to really. I'm sorry. What?
Is that you in the cover in the picture?
That is me. Yes, in my days where now I'm undercover, which is why I can't show my face on the book. But yeah. No, what I was going to say is it took me a long time to really decide that that was the right cover, and I just felt it was. It just spoke to me, and I really thought that it really just served the title so well for me, the way it was laid out. So I like
Well,
that.
speaking of speaking,
yes,
since I spoke to you, would you like to read a little bit of the book?
I can, yeah. What I'll do is I'll read the first. I guess it's a prologue, but it's not really called a prologue. And I got to put these on, or I won't be able to see a thing. So let me do this first, and I will read this. This is right in the very beginning. This is right, like I said, kind of the prologue. That's not really a prologue. So this is Tuesday, May 24th, 2021, 11:22 p.m. There was a party going on in uptown Charlotte, a 3-day celebration for the upcoming Coca-Cola 600 stock car race to be run Memorial Day weekend. NASCAR's hottest driver, Jared Trevino, had just left the fan zone booth where he had been signing autographs for the last 4 hours. It had been a fun event but a long evening, and he was tired and ready to go home. He said his goodbyes to the drivers who'd shared the booth with him and headed for the parking area to find his car. He never made it that far. Someone approached him from behind, jabbed a gun in his back, and forced him down a dead-end street leading to a back alley not far from where his vehicle was parked. He recently lost some bets on a street racing scheme he was mixed up in and had yet to settle his debt. He assumed his attacker was sent by John Binsario, the bookie he owned the money to. He figured this guy was here to scare him into paying. He laughed to himself. It's hard to scare someone who drives a high-octane race car over 200 miles an hour for a living. Tell Beans I don't appreciate him trying to pressure me into paying him. He'll get his money. I'll see him after the race this weekend. The man did not answer. He just continued to hold the gun on Jared's back. Hey, come on. This isn't funny anymore, he said, a bit irritated. I'm tired and I want to get out of here. So how about I give you $500 now and bring the rest to Beans on Monday afternoon? The gun was still shoved in his back, and the gunman was still wasn't talking. He just kept pushing Jared toward the alley. Shit, maybe this isn't about the street race, he thought. Maybe the guy's planning on robbing me, and he's taking me where no one can see it happen. He started to sweat. If Beans didn't send you, then who are you? Why are you doing this to me? He asked, as panic began weaving its way beneath his skin. Without answering his questions, the man pushed the gun even harder into the NASCAR driver's back. The gunman had yet to say a word. The only sound was their footsteps echoing off the buildings surrounding the alley. Jared tried to turn and reason with his attacker. I don't know what you want from me. What if I give you the $500? Or we can go to an ATM. I'll get you whatever amount you want. Please, just don't hurt me, he pleaded. All he got in return for his plea was the immediate sting of cold steel striking against his skull. The blow to his head wasn't hard enough to make him fall, but caused him to stumble forward a few steps. Now he really was getting scared. He tried dragging his feet as a deterrent, making it harder for the person kidnapping him to force him down the dead-end street. The unmistakable clicking sound made it clear that a round was being chambered into the gun. It frightened him to his core, causing him to immediately put an end to the foot-dragging idea. This was definitely not good. All of his senses centered on the heavy weight of the barrel cutting between his shoulder blades as he continued to be pushed into the alley. With the gun still shoved in his back, he felt the man grab his shoulder and forcefully pull him around. His abductor was dressed in black pants, a black t-shirt, and had a black ski mask pulled over his face. Jared squinted, trying to make out the man's features. Who are you? He asked again. The thought that he could actually die suddenly occurred to him, causing his voice to crack. Why are you doing this to me? I don't understand. The gunman slowly shook his head in disgust, but still didn't speak. He pointed the weapon at the center of Jared's chest. Not knowing what else to do, Jared lunged forward and began grappling for the gun. The man fired a shot into the ground, forcing Jared to pull his hands away from the weapon. He immediately lunged at the man again, this time grabbing the ski mask and pulling it up over the man's head. With the mask now off, Jared got a clean look at the gunman's face. His eyes widened as recognition set in the same moment the man fired the gun. Jared felt the searing heat tear through skin and muscle as he fell to the ground. Blood was quickly replacing the air in his lungs, and all he could manage was a series of short, clipped, shallow breaths. He looked up at the shooter standing over him and, with a weak, raspy whisper, pushed out the only word he had left. Why? The man smiled as darkness invaded his victim's eyes and seeped deep into his brain. The last thing Jared Trevino heard as he faded from existence were the only words spoken by his killer. You know why. The end.
That's
Ooh,
excellent.
very good.
Except that I stumbled over it half the reading, but you know.
No, that's excellent. Very well written.
Well,
Well, he was stumbling anyway, so it was pretty realistic.
Yeah, well, you know.
I couldn't really
You know what's funny is I read this passage about 5 times before we went on the air, and I got it down perfect, and then I get on the air and I stumble through it. So
you did really good.
That
good.
happens to everyone.
Everybody.
Beam Week says, greetings to all.
Beam.
Hello, Beam.
Hey,
Glad
Beam.
you could make it. And Joy Shelton York said, very intriguing. It is really, really intriguing. I like it. Chris Chrisman said, well done, sir.
Well, thanks.
And Paul Hollis says, great read. I'm hooked. That very,
thanks.
very well written.
It was well written.
I loved it.
Felt really
Marjorie
bad for the
said,
guy.
a good reading because it's good writing.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right,
thank
Marjorie. It is good writing.
I appreciate that.
Christine says, awesome job.
That's the most she's ever heard from any of the pages of any of my books. No.
Boy,
I'm kidding, Chris.
Yanking your chain, doesn't
Oh,
she?
my goodness.
I gotta get her. You know, no, I'm kidding with her.
Connie Cleary says, love it. Yeah, it's really good. You know, let's see. Christine says, yes, it is. All right. This was really, really good. Now, I know that you are a pantser, not a plotter, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. And we have always been pantsers. Oh, Chris Chrisman says, I love the why.
No.
I love the you know why. Because as the guy's dying, he's thinking, I don't, though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why. So that's quite the mystery you set up there.
Very
Who did
good.
it?
Very good.
Who out of all the people that we're going to find out were in his life did that?
Well, it really kind of sets it up where if you didn't read Dirty Air, you can still go into this book without having to worry about going back and rereading or reading Dirty Air. And if you did read Dirty Air, then it's just a little reminder of what happened. Well, it's not even really that, because what's described here was never described in Dirty Air. I mean, that book opens with him already being dead in the alley. So I never really described how it came to be, how he died. I mean, we knew how he died, but we never, from his perspective, kind of felt what was going on. So
this is where you find out how he died.
This is where you find out everything, where it kind of comes together. So
very good. Very good. And I know that you're writing one of the books for Magnolia Bluff.
Yes.
I was just wondering if what happened to you is the same thing that happened to us. We've always been pantsers, but with Magnolia Bluff, we felt we had to write some things down to keep everything straight.
Yeah, I've actually done the same thing with that book. I don't have a full blown outline because I just we don't
either.
But I've done more with this as far as plotting it out, I guess, than I do in any of the Razzman books. How I did that is I've read everyone else's book, so I've taken and I've gone back and kind of reread passages that I needed to, but I've taken my pointers, if you will, from there as far as trying to remember who they were, what their role is in Magnolia Bluff, what it is that their likes or dislikes are, what they are. C.W. Haas has done a great job with sending out a sheet that really kind of gives you all that information, but seeing it in action, reading the books is really what gave me the feel of how they really would react, even though you see this is who they are and there's a little, tidbit about who they are, but in the book form, you get to really see them in action. So being able to see that allowed me to really kind of plot it out a little bit. So I have done something I've never done before, which is plot a bit. Not, again, like I said, not a full blown outline, but just enough so that I know what's going on. How I get from this point to that point, I'm still doing it the way I've always done it. But
Right.
now I have a point that I know I have to get to. So, and since this book has more of a drop dead deadline than any book I've had before, I really felt the need to do it that way. So,
Yeah, we did the same.
We did.
Felt
So,
the same thing.
Joe, you said one sheet. We've got a stack of sheets like
well,
this.
yeah, no, I mean,
From CW.
it's really probably on more than one. Yes. Yeah. But I kept it electronic. So it just kind of scrolls down.
I'm
But,
just kidding.
you know, going back to the book where that character was originally written in is very helpful, especially
Yes.
when you want to use the voice of that person. You want to get it right.
Yes.
From the way the
Oh,
original,
absolutely.
yeah. So that's what we've had to do too. Go back and see how the author wrote it.
Well, and even if you have read all the books, and even if you think you know what that character is about, what's really nice is the group of authors that are involved in this project are extremely helpful, because if you send an email out to kind of in the chain is to ask a question, you will get an answer back. You may get several answers back.
Right.
And I just had to do that. I just had to do that the other day. I had to send out wanting to make sure that I had someone in this book that was placed in the right, in the right position, and if I had the right name and all that. Because sometimes these things do change. And since my book's not coming out until later in the year, I wanted to make sure I didn't put something in there that's not going to be even a part of that by the time my book comes out. So
good point.
Yeah. So I think that's been nice, is that, we have this chain that we can kind of rely on to ask questions about where something's going, or, can we do this, or can we do that, or has anyone done this before? And everyone's really good about giving you the answer back. So
you're right about that. Everyone's very helpful.
Yeah.
Very helpful. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And about your book, the name of yours is Second Chances, right?
Second Chances. Yes. Yep.
And that comes out in September.
Yeah. If I think it's September 18th is the date exact.
We'll have you on the show again. So
yeah, it'll be fun. It's one of the things I've noticed about that book, and this has nothing to do with the plotting part of it. It really doesn't. But I've noticed that it flows a little bit easier for me, because it's a new project. It's not, when I go back to write a Razzman book, I'm familiarizing myself again, with my own characters. I'm going through it, and I may get stuck, before I'm kind of pushed along to where I want to go. Here, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the enthusiasm behind the project or what it is for me, but it's been easier to actually craft the writing as I'm going through it to get to where I want to be with it. So that's been kind of a fun thing. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought it was going to be much harder to write, and I'm changing the way I'm writing this book. It's a completely different type of style than I write in the other books, which I did on purpose, because I wanted to push myself a little bit, and I wanted to ensure that I didn't have the same old, that somebody that was reading the Tony Razzolito book didn't read this book and say, well, this is exactly what that book, I want to make it more in line with what the other books were. So
Right.
Yeah.
So
Marjorie Daring said, I read Caleb Pirtle's Magnolia Bluffs book, Eulogy in Black and White, recently. What an awesome job he did. Agreed.
Absolutely. Agreed.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. I can't wait to read your Magnolia Bluffs books when they come out. Thanks, Marjorie. I'm sure Joe says thanks too.
Yes, thank you.
Caleb Pirtle said, I didn't want to speak for you. Caleb Pirtle, I know you have fully established Tony in your mind and psyche. So how were you able to create another detective who is totally different from Magnolia Bluff? That's a really good question.
Well, the detective that's in it, he's a former New York City detective. He's a narcotics detective, and he's retired. He retires and moves to Magnolia Bluff. But the character has been in the back of my head for quite some time now, because one of the things I really wanted to do was develop another series that wasn't necessarily PI based, but it was police detective based. More of a crime, that kind of a crime story kind of a thing. So Brandon Turner, who's the protagonist in my Magnolia Bluff book, he's been rattling around in my brain for a while. I just haven't brought him out. So he's coming out for this, and this is where I'm going to really establish him as in Magnolia Bluff. He's like I said, he's newly retired for reasons that you'll see, when you read the book. And he moves to Magnolia Bluff, which is kind of weird because he's from New York City. How did he get to Magnolia Bluff? So that's all. It's all described in there. And I just have to remember that he's a retired narcotics detective from New York City, and just make sure that I keep the toughness in him a little bit as we go through this, because Tony is tough, but he's more sarcastic and snarky. This guy is not really that guy. So, but he's somebody that I've had in my head for a while. So I guess
plus he's always been a professional.
Yes, and he's
very different.
Yeah, when he retired after 22 years on the force. So it's something that he really has a different mindset than Tony Razzolito does.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's time for our second and last break. When we come back, we'll do our book giveaway, and we'll tell everybody how to reach you, Joe, and we'll talk a little bit more about your books.
Yeah.
All righty.
Don't go away.
Don't go away, folks.
First, there was Siren Song, then Siren Song 2. Now comes The Siren Hunter, a continuing saga about Angie Holland and her never-ending battle with the mythological denizens that are not even supposed to exist. Is The Siren Hunter a conclusion to the undersea horror? Only the sirens know for sure.
The Siren Hunter, now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Or contact this podcast. The trilogy is complete.
People Who Like to Read Want to Get Their Hands on Books by Becca Jones.
Becca Jones, the breakthrough author who tells it like it is. It takes courage to tell a story when it reveals dark secrets. Becca Jones delves deep into the hidden world of sexual abuse. She tells what happened and also tells how she survived.
Meant to Be is much more than just entertaining. Meant to Be gives you a point of reference, hope to cling to, and becomes a guide for survival if you have suffered the same thing. Meant to Be, Becca Jones, a must-have.
Meant to Be is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites.
Madison Jackson loved being a cop. A young girl is raped and murdered near Burnett Reservoir. Madison vows to get justice for the child. Madison travels to the heart of Mexican cartel country. She is kidnapped, tortured. Will Madison ever make it home? Justice by Kelly Marshall, only at Amazon.com.
And we're back.
Hi.
We're back.
We just learned, okay, and Caleb's, I know, is in the audience, that in that last commercial, they say Burnett. And we just learned today that in Texas, it's burn it, darn it, learn it.
Burn it.
Burn it.
Is it burn it?
Is it burn it? Texas folks? Caleb?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Is it burn it or?
Well, it's funny because I say Burnett because where I grew up in Syracuse, we had a zoo, the Burnett Park Zoo, which now is the Razzman something.
And there's a Burnett, Wisconsin, which is Burnett.
So I just always thought Burnett because that the park and
we were listening to satellite radio, and they took a call in from a guy from there.
Yeah.
And he said, everyone's pronouncing it wrong. Down here in Texas, this is how we do it.
It's burn it.
It's burn it.
It's like, and Joan, you'll know this. It's like, pronouncing Peabody is Peabody.
Yes.
So,
And I won't even go into what they call Worcester, which is they say Worcester or something like that.
Yeah, no, Worcester. Yeah. Yeah, I used to work for a company that we went to Boston quite often for meetings, and it was interesting. Got to know about how to pronounce some of those names that I was greatly embarrassed by when I first got there. You know,
well,
I said Peabody, and I got slapped around very quick on that one.
I bet you did. I bet you did.
Yeah.
Chanel says, and this is funny considering what you just said. She said, "What an interesting last name, Congel."
Yeah.
Because we butchered it and called you Joe Congel. You know.
Hi, Chanel. We haven't seen you for a long time. How are you doing?
I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, a lot of people mispronounce that name. It's happened my entire life. You know, after a while, you just kind of let it roll, especially if it's somebody you don't think you're going to see again, anyways. But I just kind of felt, as I became an adult, that it was important that people did pronounce it correctly. You know, so I do. Now, back in my hometown, it really it's not as mispronounced as it used to be. We've got some relatives in Syracuse that they made the name a little more prominent, I guess. I don't know if you'd really want to call it that. Then probably I have, but so a lot of people there do know how to pronounce it correctly. But for a long time when I was younger, I don't know. I guess maybe the people I ran around with just couldn't get it right. So.
Well, we named our son Sean, but we spelled it the Irish way, Sean.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
He would always be called Scene at school. The teachers would call him Scene. But, you know, he's in his 40s, so I think now it's a more common name.
Yeah, it is a lot more common now.
Chanel says, "I'm okay, mostly tired these
Good
days." I'm glad that you're mostly okay, Chanel. All right, so we never did get to give out all of the places people can reach you.
Right.
So look for Joe's blog on joecongelfictionstories.blogspot.com, JoeCongelfictionstories.
Blogspot. Hard to say.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny just because when I came up with that name, I thought I was going to write a blog that was just going to have a bunch of short stories on it, and that's not what it's evolved to be. So, you know, I just kept the name though.
But that's okay. Yeah. And you can find them on Facebook, joe.congel.3. You can find him on Twitter at Joe Congel Author. On LinkedIn,
just search Joe Congel.
Joe Congel.
Yep.
And now let's get to the book giveaway. Here we go.
Okay, the first 3 people to email jc.razzman@gmail.com will win an ebook copy of choice. So get typing, folks.
Where's his email?
It's on the bottom.
Oh, it's on the bottom.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
There's a bigger version of it.
Email jc.razzman@gmail.com. And it's Razzman is Razzman. Those of you who are just listening on the podcast and not watching the vodcast.
Right. And they can also find me on Instagram at Joe Congel Author. I don't think it's on there.
Instagram.
Oh, okay. Instagram is the same as Twitter, folks. Joe Congel Author.
Correct.
You can find them on both those places. All of these many places.
Yeah.
Marketing is our favorite thing, is it?
I love it.
love keeping up with all the different websites, all the different social media outlets, right?
Well, you know, we've had New York Times best-selling authors on here, and they have to do all their own marketing too. I think a lot of us think, oh, well, if you get signed with a big publishing company, that you don't have to do that. You do.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the industry's changed so much over the years that it's just become standard now for the author to do a lot of the work. So, you know, beyond the writing. So,
do all their own book tours and signing things and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's crazy to me. people that you wouldn't think would have to do that. I still am amazed by that.
Yeah. Well, I think the hardest part about that for a lot of authors is that, they're so introverted to start. So, they like staying holed up in their little closet of area where they're going to work. And then they got to come out and be on, so to speak, when they're talking about their book. And I think that makes it very difficult for a lot of folks. You'd never know it because like I said, I've stumbled over some things tonight, but a lot of what I did when I was working full time had to do with talking to a lot of people all day long, in groups, giving different types of seminars and speeches, as well as just working one-on-one with people, because it was sales, and it gave me kind of a one-up on being able to be a little bit more extroverted when it came to that. But I have come to realize that I do enjoy my alone time writing without anybody bothering me too. So that's nice.
Okay, well, you're on a deadline with Magnolia Bluff.
Yes.
And that's going to come to an end.
Right.
Have you got anything at all way back in the background that you're wanting to do or thinking about doing?
Well, yeah. Well, I've got really two penciled in for 2 Magnolia Bluff books. The one that's coming out this year, and then I've got one coming for 2024. I'm penciled in for that for June. So those 2 are really going to take up most of my time for the rest of this year.
All right.
I still do have, and I do have it basically done. I just haven't polished it enough. I do have another 3-story short story with Razzman that's essentially ready to go. And they're all the baseball themed stories. I talked about them once before.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, I've got the cover for it. I've got everything basically. I just got to polish it. But I really wanted to I was working on that same time I was working on Best Served Cold, and I really wanted Best Served Cold to come out. So I put that on the back shelf, even though I was almost done with it. And then I went headfirst into Magnolia Bluff as soon as this was done. So I do want to get that out. I just don't know if I'll get it out before the end of the year. I'm not sure yet. It just depends.
That'd be a lot to take on. Yeah.
Yep. But that, and I've actually got an idea for a probably a novella is what it'll end up being. I'm trying a little bit of a ghost story, kind of horror story thing, which I've never done before. But but I really do like. I like when I listen to you guys, talking about your spirit world and all that kind of. It's really kind of made me think a little bit more about, could I write a book like that? So I've been toying with some ideas on that, and I've actually got a title for it, and been working on it a little bit, and probably have maybe 4 or 5 chapters done. But I don't. That's kind of just a labor of love. That'll. There's no rhyme or reason as to when that will show up, but I think it probably will eventually.
Actually, we're going to be doing an investigation while we're in Texas doing our book tour.
Yeah, nice.
And we're going to be investigating Hill House, and it has quite a reputation. We've heard of it before. I haven't read anything about it because if I'm going to do an investigation, I like to go in cold, not knowing all the facts,
Right.
But you guys will be able to watch it because they have a studio there, so we'll be able to broadcast from there.
Nice.
And you'll be able to watch it live and see how boring
paranormal
investigation is.
You say that, but I agree with you with going in there cold also, because I think that if you go in with too many facts, you're almost going to hear something that may not have happened because you're expecting it. If you don't know what to really expect other than maybe something is going to happen, but you don't know exactly what you're listening for, I think that makes it more real too.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Because your imagination can make you hear all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So Catherine says you're far from introverted, LOL.
Yeah, that's my sister. She would know. And that's where I get it from. She's worse than I am. You think I talk a lot? Listen to her.
Chanel says Hill House is amazing. Yeah, so don't tell me anything about it, Chanel.
No.
And she has said that she's been doing talk to text for Jackson to listen to after I pass
Her
Jackson
son,
as her son.
Wow.
And she has also said she's going to come and visit me when she passes. And I said, come on down. I'll be here.
Yeah.
I'll listen to you. Yeah. So this is really exciting that you've got this book out that came out. When did the the
Best
latest?
Served Cold a couple weeks ago. About 2 weeks. Yeah.
That's what Rob thought. And September, we're going to be looking for another Magnolia Bluff.
Well, for me, I mean, yeah, I mean, there's others between me and between.
Bluff.
Yeah. Because right now, as we know, Cindy had 2 books out back to back. She did
I know.
for March and for April.
Right.
And then
She's crazy.
Katie McNiven, hers comes out in May. I think that may be May 18th, if I'm not mistaken. And then of course there's a few others before we get to me in September. So
yeah. And then ours comes out in January.
Yep.
Brand new year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
And like you said, that means we have a deadline that we can't
exactly
our leisure.
Exactly. But I'm finding that I actually probably work, and I've done this before too. I do feel like I work better when I actually have a solid deadline that someone else is holding over my head.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when it's my own self-imposed deadline and I know I can move it, it's not quite as harrowing as when I can't move it myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
We're finding that it's a good thing to know.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got this many pages written, so.
Yep.
Plus all the research.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's what I did all afternoon before this show. I was working on Magnolia Bluff. So.
Did you work on ours too?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
A little double duty there, sure.
Yeah. Well, at least it would have gotten you used to writing about the ghosty part of things.
Yes.
Yeah, if you need any help with that,
okay,
to keep it authentic, we'll be glad to help.
I'll give you a little bit about what it is. There's a guy that he when he was growing up, he drove by this old farmhouse all the time. It just was on his way to wherever he was going. He always saw it. And when he became an adult, he found that it was up for sale. The people that lived there passed, and he ended up buying it for a song. And turns out that it may be haunted. So and that's about as far as I've got. but that's kind of what I'm thinking, working that way.
Yeah, if you need any help with how how hauntings actually happen and stuff like that, and how you find out who it is and what it is, and whether or not it's really a haunting.
Yeah,
we'll be happy to help. Ghost Mystery Story. Chanel says Ghost Mystery Stories was my favorite to read growing up. Yeah, they're fun.
Really let the imagination go, don't they?
Yeah. So if we can help, we'll be happy.
And I'll probably tap on your shoulder about that, because I do know that there's a lot I don't know about that world, and there's a lot that I would like to learn before I really put forth an effort that I'd want to put out there. But right now I'm just toying with it. I'm not toying with it at all at the moment, because I'm too deep in the
You're too busy with everything else.
But it's sitting there on the computer, as far down as I have.
And it's always going back here, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that and I see it every time I open up my files. It's one of the files sitting right there. So
Yeah, I know. Like when we're walking in the morning or something, and we'll even be talking, and all of a sudden I'll have a random thought about something that we're working on, and I'm like, and I just start talking to him about it, and he'll be like, "What are you talking about?"
What?
Oh, the book.
That happens to me. I woke up at 3:00 this morning when I went to bed last night. I wasn't quite finished with the chapter I was working on, and I had left it at a point where I was like, okay, I'll figure this out tomorrow. And about 3:00 in the morning, I woke up with it figured out. So I had to get that done. So I'm literally on my phone texting myself what I want to write.
Oh yeah.
And then took it all from the notes this morning when I got up. So
there you go.
Because if you hadn't have done that, you wouldn't have been able to pull that back up.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've heard so many people say that. That's never happened to us.
Yeah, I text myself a lot when I found that right now that's the easiest way for me to remember something when it comes to an idea that strikes me out of the blue. So
yeah. Okay.
All righty.
Oh my goodness. It's been just about an hour. It's been an hour.
It's fast.
Yeah. I can't believe
Anything else you would like to
talk about
today?
Boy, I don't know. I could keep you here for another hour probably, but
I'm sure there's time to keep our audience.
But you know, I like I said, I feel blessed to be able to do this in the first place, because it took me forever to really decide that writing was something that I really wanted to put real effort and spend a lot of my time doing. I went through a lot of different things prior to that, and it just hit me one day that, oh my, you know, I think this is really my calling, even though I never thought of it that way. So I just feel blessed to be able to truly sit down and have these words flow out and work for me, you know, and I just hope that you know, other folks enjoy it too, you know. So
Yeah.
I never really understood the passion people had for it until I got really deeply involved in it. Now I'm as bad as everybody else when it comes to that. So
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it really is. And your characters they're real people to you.
Oh yeah. There's no question about that. Yeah. No question about that. I know more about Tony Razzolito and the folks in these books than I do some real people, you know,
that's right.
that I'm associated with. So yeah.
Well, you're their creator, so
yes. Yeah.
You're their God.
Yep. Yeah. There you go.
Now there's good fantasies.
Kind of wonder what they're doing when the books are closed on the shelf, you know.
And author
we're off doing something else.
Or the author is a god to all of these characters that he's created.
Toy Story with books, right? They all come to life when you're not in the room. So
there you go.
Yeah.
But I guess in my case, they all come to life when I'm in the room. So, you know,
that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's the truth.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us tonight.
Absolutely.
We'll
Thank you for asking me.
We'll have you on again in part 3 of the Magnolia Bluff reveal. That'll probably be coming up around August or September. It should be. So we'll let you know when that's happening and find out more and see your cover and everything.
All right.
That'll be great.
Work. Good.
Thanks again. And
thank you.
If you're not too busy with the mob, that is.
Yeah.
Gonna move you over.
I get someone to run the pizza joint.
Let me see.
Yeah, there you go. Well, send us some pizza.
Okay.
So let's see. We got some more things
Chanel says, remember to use jet, shungite, amethyst, smoky quartz, and peridot for communicating with spirits. They attract spirits. Yeah, don't worry. You should see all the crystals in my bedstand, Chanel.
Yeah, it looks like a rock garden in there.
And I even brought some protective stuff for him and I to wear as bracelets because, you know, hematite and
especially
obsidian.
That place is supposed to be pretty active. So.
Yeah. So Paul Hollis said, another fascinating show. Thanks, Joan, Rob, and Joe.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah. Chris Chrisman said, thanks, everyone. Great show, Joe.
Thanks, Chris.
Christine Moffitt Congel said, great show. Connie Clary said, thank you for a great show. Well, thank you all for being in the audience and being a great audience. And we love all of your comments.
Yeah.
And appreciate it a lot.
If you watched
Joe does too.
If you watched on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel.
Yes.
And,
even if you didn't watch on
go
YouTube.
over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Yeah, for sure.
Because God knows it needs help.
It does. It's very sad. Hey, May is right around the corner. Next time we come on, it'll be May. And actually next week is a pre-record of UK author Maureen Dixon, May 3rd. May 10th is the Magnolia Bluff Part 2 reveal, as a matter of fact. Richard Schwent, Caleb, and Cindy are going to be on with us.
It's going to be fun.
Katie couldn't make it. And then on the 17th is going to be Katina Noble. And on the 24th is Macy Lewis. And then we'll have a pre-record of Paul de Blasi III will be on the 31st for everybody. So...
Oh, wait a minute.
Let's see. What do we got? Some more comments here?
Yeah. YouTube is the long game. Boy, that's the truth, Chris.
Yeah.
And Joy Shelton York says, great show as always. Thank you, Joy. And Chanel said, when you have as many as me, then you have too many, LOL. Yeah, I don't have a room full, Chanel.
Oh, looks like Beth was watching. Did you see Beth?
Oh, where is... Oh, Beth. Hi. Great show.
Thank you, Beth.
Beth is... she and her husband are the founders of Tampa Bay Spirits. So if you tune in tomorrow, you can meet Beth in person.
Tampa Bay Spirits 1 www.www.www.www.www.com.
Mm-hmm. Well,
all right.
That's not the podcast.
That's where you can find out information about our
team.
investigation team.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's kind of about it, isn't it? Are you done chatting?
Yes.
I think I am.
Because I talk more than Joe.
There you go.
And all of you that know me know that's no lie.
So thank you, everybody. And until next time.
That's all, folks.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.